Have you ever sat beside someone you love and felt something in the room shift? Not with words, not with sound, but in the quiet? There's not pain, there's not fear, there's something softer, deeper, as if the soul is gently gathering its things, getting ready. Hospice nurses, those who walk silently beside others in their final days, they know this feeling well, not because of medical charts or beeping machines, but because they've been there, over and over again, and they've learned to listen in a different way. They notice the changes no one teaches you to see, the stillness in a hand, the way a breath lingers, the sudden clarity in someone's eyes just before they close. Each person's passing is their own story, but time and again, 5 signs show up, quietly, gently, like a whisper before goodbye. But this isn't a video about death. Not really. It's a video about presence, about truly being there when someone needs you most, about noticing the moments that don't speak, but say everything, and how sometimes the smallest gestures, a hand held, a silence shared, a breath witnessed, can become the most sacred part of all. So if you've ever wondered what it means to show up at the end, stay with me, because this might change how you see those final days, forever. If you're in your 60s, 70s, or even well beyond, chances are you've walked this road before. Maybe you held the hand of a lifelong partner, watched over a sibling with memories only the two of you shared, or sat quietly by your mother or father, listening for every breath, not wanting the moment to come, and yet knowing it would. And maybe now, you find yourself thinking about your own journey ahead, not out of fear, but with a quiet curiosity, a hope to understand, to be prepared, to make peace, because this path, this final stretch of life, is not easy. But when we begin to understand what may come, we stop fearing it and start honoring it with grace, with presence, with love. That's why today I want to share something rarely spoken about, the 5 signs that hospice nurses have come to recognize, not from textbooks, not from data, but from years of simply being there, watching, listening, holding space. These are signs of transition, of a soul quietly making its way home. Let's begin, gently, together. Sign 1. A gentle turning inward. One of the first signs is silence. Not the heavy kind, not the kind that feels like something is missing. This silence is different. It's soft, subtle, like a quiet curtain slowly being drawn. You'll notice conversations grow fewer, not because there's nothing to say, but because words begin to matter less. The eyes may linger closed a little longer. The TV stays off even when it's on. The hum of the outside world starts to fade. It's not a pulling away from people. It's a turning toward something deeper. It's not rejection. It's reflection. A natural shift inward, like a flower folding its petals at dusk. Not because the day was unkind, but because it's simply time to rest. There was a woman named Maria, 86 years old. She had always loved the sound of birds, especially in the early morning. She would sit by the open window every day, coffee in hand, listening as the world slowly woke up. But in her final days, she asked that the windows stay closed. Her grandson, confused, asked, "Don't you want to hear them sing one more time?" Maria smiled gently, eyes half closed, and whispered, "I'm listening to something else now." And in that moment, there was nothing more to ask, nothing more to say. It was her way of saying goodbye, without needing to explain a thing. Because sometimes, the soul begins to speak in silence, and all we can do is listen. Sign 2, rhythms of the breath. The next sign doesn't come in words, but in breath. You'll notice it. The rhythm changes. What was once steady becomes slower, deeper, quieter. Then, for a moment, it stops. Stillness. You might think, is this it? But then, a breath returns. Soft, sudden, as if the body is remembering. Just one more time. This pattern has a name. Shane Stokes breathing. Can sound unsettling if you've never heard it before. The pauses, the gasping return. the unpredictability. But hospice nurses will tell you, it's rarely painful. The body isn't fighting. It's not afraid. It's preparing. Like the tide pulling back before the final wave. I once met a family caring for a man named Louis, a jazz pianist in his younger years. Sharp fingers, quicker wit. Even as his body faded, his presence filled the room. As his breathing changed, his daughter sat by his side and said softly, "Dad's breathing sounds like music now. Strange, unpredictable, but somehow beautiful." And she was right. It rose and fell like an improvisation, not chaotic, but free, as if his soul was composing one final song, farewell, in rhythm and breath. Because in those final moments, the body is not giving up, it's letting go, like a melody slowly resolving into silence. If you're still watching this video and finding these valuable insights, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Sign 3. The quiet goodbye. Withdrawal isn't just about being silent. It's about where the attention goes and where it no longer lingers. You may notice your loved one sleeping more. Long stretches of stillness. Their eyes might open, but not really focus. They seem to be looking through the room, not at it. They might stop eating, stop answering, stop reacting to voices, touch, even music they once loved. And it's easy, so easy to feel hurt, to wonder, do they still know I'm here? Do they still care? But hospice nurses remind us, this isn't a rejection. It's not distance out of disconnection. It's a turning inward, the soul preparing, the spirit slowly loosening its ties to the world. Think of it like a boat at dusk, still visible from shore. You can still wave to it, still feel its presence. But it's no longer tied to the dock. It's beginning to drift, gently, quietly, naturally. For families, this moment can ache. The silence feels unfamiliar. The absence of response, unsettling. But those who've walked this path many times will tell you, this is often when peace enters the room. It's the calm after the storm, the deep breath before the soul takes flight. So if you find yourself in that quiet, honor it, sit beside it, let it speak in its own way, because sometimes the most sacred goodbyes are the ones spoken without a single word. Sign 4. The last spark, a final rally. This one catches people by surprise. After days, sometimes weeks of silence, of closed eyes and still hands, your loved one suddenly awakens. Their eyes open wide, clear and bright. They sit up, they smile, they ask for coffee, or a favorite meal, or they tell a story you've never heard before, from a childhood long tucked away in memory. They might even say something you've longed to hear, like, "I love you," or "thank you," or something so personal, so true. It roots itself in your heart forever. But here's what hospice nurses gently explain. This is not a return to health. It's not a recovery. It's a final flicker, a brief, beautiful rally, before the flame fades for good. It's not science. It's something else. A gift. One last moment of presence. As if the soul, knowing it's near the edge, gathers everything it has left, just to say goodbye. There was a grandfather named John. He hadn't spoken in days. His daughter stayed by his side, quiet, patient, holding his hand. Then, one evening, as the sun dipped low, he opened his eyes, looked straight at her, and said, "You were always brave, even when I wasn't." He passed that night. But those words, just a handful of syllables, became a lifetime of healing, a message she carries with her everywhere. So if your loved one suddenly returns, even just for a moment, don't question it, don't fear it, receive it, hold it close, because sometimes the brightest light comes just before the candle fades. If you're still watching this video and finding these valuable insights, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Sign 5, the last breath. And finally, the breath slows. It becomes softer, shallower, a whisper of what it once was. Then, at some point, it simply stops. Sometimes there's a faint rattle, a soft gurgling sound, caused by fluid in the throat, often called the death rattle, can sound unsettling to those who are listening. But hospice nurses want you to know, it doesn't hurt. There's no struggle, no fear, just the body easing out of its work. By this time, the person is often somewhere else entirely. Their face is calm, their brow unfurrowed, their hands no longer clenched. The body has relaxed, because the soul has already begun its journey. Carol's daughter once told me, through quiet tears and a soft smile, her last breath was the softest thing I've ever heard, like the wind letting go of a leaf. And that's what it is. Not a fight, not a dramatic ending, but a release, a letting go, not of love, not of presence, but of effort, because the body has done all it needed to do, and the soul is finally free. So if you ever witness this moment, breathe with them, hold their hand, and know you are witnessing something sacred. The final exhale is not the end, it's the beginning of everything else. We often think of death as something to resist, to fight, to fear, to push away at all costs. But those who walk beside it every day, the hospice nurses, the quiet witnesses, they've come to understand something far more tender. They know death is not a battle, it's not the enemy, it's not failure. It's a rhythm, a ritual, a passage, like birth, but in reverse. Just as we enter this world through breath and touch and care, we leave it in much the same way, not with force, but with gentleness, with silence, with presence. And in those final moments, the greatest gift you can offer isn't a cure. It isn't the perfect thing to say. It's not strength or solutions. It's your presence. To sit, to breathe with them, to hold a hand, even when it's still. To whisper, I'm here, even if they can't respond. To love, without needing anything in return. Because when words fall away, when time runs thin, when all the doing is done, what matters most is simply being there. Just being. Because in the end, presence is the most powerful medicine we have. And sometimes, it's the only one we need. If you've ever sat beside someone in their final days, you know how sacred those moments can be, how time slows down, how love softens everything. And if you're preparing to walk that path now, with a parent, a partner, a dear friend, I hope this video offered you a little more peace, a little more clarity, and a whole lot more love, because none of us are truly prepared for goodbye, but we can learn to meet it with gentleness. If one of these signs reminded you of someone you love, a moment, a word, a breath, comment the number below. Let it be a quiet tribute. Or if you feel called to share a story, however small, a hand you held, a final word whispered, a moment that helped you find grace in the goodbye, please share it. Your voice matters, and it might help someone else breathe a little easier tonight. If you found comfort here, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone who may need it. You never know whose heart you'll touch. We'll be here, quietly, gently, waiting for you in the next video. Until then, take care of your breath, and take care of each other.